sole purpose of improving our speaking and to be able to speak volubly, to become better communicators. We use all the tools that are at our disposal to be able to do that. And the most important tool we have is our voice. Without voice, obviously we can't speak. With voice, people have done great things. Speakers, singers, mimicry artists, all these people have extended their voice to the limit to achieve great things. Today, in the next 5 minutes, let's try to understand a little bit about what happens inside us when we try to speak. It's not magic, of course. There's a whole mechanism that is going on inside for every syllable, every vowel, every consonant that we utter. The whole, if we treat this as an assembly line, the assembly line of voice starts right here, close to our diaphragm, and it ends at the tip of our lips. And the center of this assembly line is a small 2-inch organ called the larynx. This larynx sits right here in our throat, very close to the place where our trachea and our esophagus split, our digestive system and our respiratory system. And this larynx has 2 roles. One is to protect the trachea, and the second to produce voice. How does it do it? There is a 2-fold V-shaped muscle inside the larynx called vocal folds, or commonly known as vocal cords. These vocal cords take the air that's being pumped from our lungs and produce sound. When I'm breathing, these vocal folds are not doing anything. They're just relaxing, having fun watching TV maybe. But when I try to speak, these vocal folds compress. They come closer and they pressurize the air that's coming from the lungs to produce voice. When I'm speaking something, my lungs are pumping air at very high volumes and high pressures. These vocal folds clip and chop off this air into small, tiny pulses. And while the vocal folds are doing that, the larynx is actually stretching and squeezing the vocal folds to change the properties of these pulses, thereby introducing pitch variations, tone variations. And when these variated pulses leave our larynx and come into our vocal tract, there are articulators in our mouth and our vocal tract, like your tongue, your lips, your cheeks, your throat. They all add more variations to the voice to produce what you guys are hearing right now. This is a 10,000 view of what happens inside. Of course, if we go deeper, there's a whole science, there's a 4-year education for that. But this is introduction, I think, is very important for people to know, because there are a lot of moving parts in this system. Even though each person here has a bass voice, like alto, bass, tenor, soprano, these are basically based on the quality of voice. People are classified into these groups, but these, even though we are bestowed with some bass voice, there's a lot of variation that can be produced just by trying to improve on and control these mechanisms that go on in our body. For example, just by changing the shape of your throat, changing the position of your chest, and increasing the air that we pump out, we can make variations in our tone, pitch, tremble, bass, and stuff like that. By default, human, like men and women, by default, by nature, they have different pitches. And this happens because of the difference in the anatomy of people. For example, men have larger larynx, and women have smaller. That's the reason why men have lower pitch in general and women have higher pitch. And things like genetics, hormones, everything affects voice. And these are all variables that we can control if we practice to control it. In fact, singers do it all the time. They are taught the basic anatomy of voice, and they are taught taught how to control the various components so that they can produce a richer variety. For example, there are cavities in our throat, air cavities that vibrate, resonate when we are trying to speak. These vibrate because the air that's vibrating in the vocal folds vibrates them too. With practice, and singers do it all the time, we can control the vibration that happens inside so that we can produce richer voice. If you think about it, all this is happening because we ask it to happen. When I say I'm asking all the parts in my body to tune themselves so that I can say I. All through the life, 20, 30, 40 years we lived, we learned how to control our voice. And we learned this subconsciously, unknowingly. When I say I don't know what to do with my larynx. Should I stretch it or squeeze it? I don't do that. It all happens naturally. Imagine, when we can learn so much without even us knowing about it, if we make the effort to control our voice, to control all the moving parts, we can do a lot more. We can achieve much more. We can increase our vocal range much more than what we think we can. Basic knowledge of anatomy and some discipline when it comes to doing exercises for our voice is all that's needed. I hope we all take this information, put it to good use, and increase our vocal variety. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. Let's take a few minutes. I'm going to set up the screen for my presentation.